Hello and welcome to this interview series. This interview is a part of a series that I'm making with the contributors to the book Autism and Buddhist Practice. The series is meant to bring awareness to autistic people about how helpful Buddhism is in navigating their lives in a world where we just feel like a square peg in a round hole. It's also meant as an educational series to Buddhist sanghas and communities and centers for them to know how they can create a more attractive and accessible environment for autists. And today I have Louise Woodford with me. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm so happy. And you wrote chapter number 1.
Yes, I
and
did.
the chapter is called How an Encounter with a Buddhist Monk Started My Journey to Wellbeing. And I think one of the reasons why your chapter is number 1 is that it's so recognizable. It really, really is. You have we're going to talk about this, and I have a feeling that we're going to talk for a long time, because I absolutely I love everything you have written, and there's so many things that are recognizable for autists that are joining Buddhist communities. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, well, probably more, but it's like in 3 brackets. The first one is that I would like to hear your life before and after diagnosis. You have a quote in the book where you say, when you finally get your diagnosis, you say, "I'm not wrong, I'm not broken, I'm just autistic." And that really hit home. So I would like to hear your journey to before and after diagnosis. Then I would like to hear about your Buddhist practice, obviously the amazing story with meeting the monk, but also how your practice has been, how it has been with the Sangha and all of that, because as you have written in the book, there's a lot of issues that you experienced, that I have experienced as well, and that when we met, at least when we spoke with the others, that all of us are experiencing. So that is really important. I would like to hear about that. And then the topic that I would like to talk about is exactly about that, with not fitting in, really trying so hard to fit in, and just not fitting in into a Sangha, and not fitting into life in general. So those are the 3 main topics that I would like to talk about.
Okay.
But the first one, when we start, could you please tell us about your life before and after diagnosis, please?
Okay, so I would say before diagnosis, it's really quite hazy, my memory, in a way, because I feel like it was just chaotic, and anyone who knew me might not see that looking in, but from the inside, it's like I just went through life not understanding anything. Like not understand. I think you've said, Pernilla, about not being born with the rule book.
Yeah.
Social rule book. Like I really wasn't, and I feel like even now, to be honest, whenever I'm in a social situation, it goes wrong.
Yes.
I don't know if other people recognize that, because I do mask normally, but I always come away from a social situation feeling so frustrated, because that interaction just didn't go right, as in they didn't understand what I was saying, or I've been misinterpreted. It's like I communicate, they communicate, and it's like boom, 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 like this all the time. And I feel like my life before diagnosis was just that, one after the other. And I can go back to preschool. I remember preschool like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And what I was 2, 3, and it was no different. I remember just watching all the other children and thinking, I don't get it. I don't know how to play. I don't understand how to play. Why would they want to put those funny clothes on from the dressing up box? I don't get it. What's the point of cutting coloured paper? I don't understand. Why would I want to do that? Like there was just and it went on from there. So my time before diagnosis, I think, starts when I was 2. And then from 2 up to, I can't remember the age I got diagnosed. I think I was late 30s. But all that period, I honestly feel like I don't understand the world. I don't understand who I am. I don't understand the point of anything. And I just went from, job to job, business to business. I've got a list of friends as long as my arm, ex-friends. I still love all of them, but every friendship is broken down because I don't give them what they expect. I can't give them what they expect. I don't know how to. And so, and also, like, before diagnosis as well, I was often actually told, there's something wrong with you. You've got something wrong with you. Something wrong with your brain, something wrong with your head. Why are you like that? There's something wrong with you, like by family and some friends, exes, that. Always there's something wrong with you. And when you hear that enough from childhood up until like your 30s, 40s, you do believe it. I mean, you hear it from enough people enough times, you do start to believe it.
Yeah.
And then when I got the diagnosis, I really did, I mean, it was deep. It was like sobbing deep. It was, there's nothing wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. You were all wrong. There was nothing wrong with me all along. All my life, you've told me this. And you were wrong. You were wrong. And I just embraced it. I really did embrace the diagnosis, even though I don't like calling it a diagnosis or disorder, because I don't feel ill. Not diagnosed with an illness, and I'm not disordered, actually. I'm like perfectly fine. but there's nothing wrong with me. And so that was that's kind of my overall memory of life before diagnosis.
Yeah.
There were lots and lots of jobs. I mean, when I say I can mask, I can go into new careers and be new professions and like mask it out so well, for a little while.
And then it falls apart.
Yeah, for a little while. And then I have to leave, have massive meltdown, leave, move on. And that's how it's been. It's been, faking it, massive, not intentionally faking it, survival mode, faking it, massive meltdown, move on, fake it, massive meltdown, move on. And that's the case in jobs, in friendships,
relationships,
everything. Relationship. I met my husband when I was 21, and he's the one thing that's stuck.
Yeah,
he's quite understanding.
Yeah, if we at some point can talk about the female autistic monogamy, because it's like a partner becomes the one, and we just stay with the one, and that partner then becomes almost the special interest, that we're so invested into that, and there's nothing else. I have heard that so many times. I
don't know, he's just I won't call him oh no, he's got to hear this. I wouldn't call him my special interest.
Think back, Louise, when you were 21. Think back.
Didn't expect to talk about this.
We don't have to.
I mean, we've got a good relationship. It's no big. There's nothing to not talk about. I just don't think he's ever been my special interest. Sorry, Neil.
Okay.
Moving on.
You have anyways. You have. Could you talk about the description up to what led you to sit and sob in the doctor's office?
Oh yeah. So there was a lot going on in my life at that time. For example, I'd had a baby, which is pretty big. I had a neighbour who was so I'd recently moved into the house, and we got on really well with the neighbours, but one of them just really took a dislike to me. It happens, doesn't it? He just really took a dislike. Really did.
Yes.
Like, to the point of I had to hide from him to not be called a name or something, which was odd. It was all a bit odd, but I had that going on. And I was also I had a recruitment company at the time, and I think also at the time that was kind of going a bit south, because I think there was some bit of financial crash around that time, and so there was a lot of stuff going on. There was just a lot of stuff going on. And then one day, it was just a really normal day. I used to take my daughter to a toddler group to socialize her, which was really stupid now when I look back on it. But but I used to take her to this group, and I don't know what happened. I just sat outside, and I knew I was about to walk into a hall full of women.
Yeah.
And actually, that was what triggered it. It wasn't any of the other things that was going on in my life, although I'm sure that was kind of building it all up. I just couldn't walk into a room full of women. I just couldn't do it. And somebody in there was expecting me, like it was a friend who I'd just arranged to meet in there. And I don't know what happened. I just couldn't do it, and I just broke down, like really broke down, when my body was trembling and shaking, and I couldn't do anything. I think it was either me or the friend who I met, who called my mum, and she come and got me and took me home. And my mum gets it. She does get it. She suffers from some of the same things as me, let's say, as does my dad, as does my brother. But so they do understand. And my mum just took me home and helped me, and I just needed to get this. I just needed to get out of the peopling and the noise. And see, what I didn't realize at the time was just the noise of wind can set me off. Just the wind or the traffic. If there's a road in the distance and there are cars going by, I recognize now that I need to put my little ear defenders in, because that's going to bring on a really stressful state for me. I didn't realize that then. I just got overwhelmed and felt like I couldn't cope anymore. I think if I could go back and put some ear defenders on me and some sunglasses, I think I'd have been all right.
Yeah.
Or I'd have coped, let's say. But it's just the sensory overload, having to mask in front of people.
And that is exhausting. I mean, masking is exhausting.
Because, oh my God!
Because there's so much happening internally, that we're trying really to hold in and not express. And at the same time, we are so alert in what is going on and read the room all the time. It is exhausting. I always end up with migraine, and I can't be in my body, and shutdowns and mute and all of that. I completely recognize that. Completely.
That's it.
You may I ask you, you react with rage and meltdowns, don't you?
I used to,
yeah. Could you talk about
that? I think from childhood right up until the late 20s, in early 30s. I think after having a child and meeting Buddhism happened at the same time. So it was at that stage it stopped. But my biggest memories as a child with the meltdowns is, it's hard to remember it, because you switch, like it's like the world goes blurry.
Yeah.
Like I can't, and it's like I didn't even know what I was doing. So it's hard to say, oh, I felt like this and I did this and I did that, because I can't really remember. It's like the world went blurry. couldn't hear anymore. I just wanted to kind of, and I would throw things, I'd get violent. My poor brother. I just really would like just lose it. But again, I think if I could go back and just stick some ear defenders on, I think I'd have been all right. It's
but it is why it's one of the reasons why I'm making this series is to really bring awareness to how life was before we got the diagnosis, to bring clarity to anyone that has children that are acting, that are not sitting with the groups and not having any friends and preferring to be alone, and showing all those signs that we now know are so clear, so we can help children being diagnosed sooner, so they don't need to be in their 30s, 40s and 50s before they get a diagnosis.
I think with children, what I've realized is like as a child you could be like really like full of rage and full of meltdown or whatever you call it, and you don't know why. What's wrong with me? I don't know why. But what I've come to recognize growing up, I haven't completely grown up, but it's like
yes.
Pardon?
As close as it gets to being
grown.
I
never that's another thing. I never feel like I've grown up.
I know.
But anyway, I've realized what I didn't realize then is the label in my clothing was irritating the hell out of me. My sock had a lump in it. My coat wasn't on properly. That my ponytail was hurting my head. Like there was so much about me that I think was causing me so much kind of like suffering and pain. I know it sounds, I'm a bit, children go through worse than having a label. I feel like a bit,
no, go on, because we, go on.
This is
yeah.
It's a big thing. Like when if you're autistic, these feelings that you get like from things just not being right on you. I get it now. Like I've started to wear my bracelet over my cuff because I realize it just bugs me, and I can't and then I can't concentrate, and then I can't speak, and then I can't, and it's all because there's a label on my skin, and it feels like it's kind of sandpaper on my skin or something. And I don't think children recognize that, is my point. I didn't as a child. They don't always recognize what's causing them such discomfort. So if we could and even changing the environment, you can go and sit in the library and you can read. I mean, that would have changed my whole childhood. If a teacher said to me, you don't have to go out into the playground, you can just go and sit in the library and read a book, that would have changed my life every year of my school life if I was able to have done that. But you wasn't allowed to do that. Turfed you out of the library. You've been in here too long now. Turfed you out. It's crazy. So I'm kind of lost what I'm originally.
I would like to circle back. We're a bit off topic, but I mean, as we both talked about, we have no backstop. So this might be the first 6 hours.
What was the topic again?
Well, I would like to talk about the thing about the labels, and having socks on inside out, and having clothes on that either needs to be so loose that it's not touching the body anywhere, or be so tight that you kind of like feel hugged or held. About having I spoke with a girlfriend the other day, where she's Asperger's as well, where we talked about how we dressed when we were children, where it was just I had like my rainbow toe socks on because I like that each toe is hugged by a sock, and lots of colors and big scarves and everything, because it was just that softness and that kindness in the clothing that is
that's great that you were allowed. See, lots of children have to wear what they're told to wear, don't they? And it does. It's like this. Like before coming on here, I've had a whole. So if I'm like this, I feel like I always have to wear like a vest or something around my neck. Yes. Like I feel like too exposed here, like, and it's exactly the same place where the labels really
like this one,
And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just wear a scarf. But then if I wear a scarf, there's like a couple of millimeters of skin between the scarf and the top of my top. And I can't, if that happens, I won't be able to speak to you.
No, I have the same. When I see people wearing like they have like sneakers on, and then they have skin, and then they have their jeans, I'm like, how can you manage that? How can you manage two different temperatures going on in the same small, space of foot, of leg? How can you manage that?
I didn't know anyone else understood that. It's good to hear you say.
Yeah. No. I'm completely with you. No, it needs to be like long, and it needs to be I completely, and that any skin open in the middle where it's drafty, I can't think.
That's it. So before coming on here, I'm like, okay, I could just wear a scarf. And then I was thinking, I've got that gap, I can't do that. And then I'm like, I can't sit there like in a blanket all wrapped up. But and then I'm thinking, no, of course I can. Don't mask, because then you're masking. Then, oh man, it's the overthinking is another thing. The overthinking. And then I thought, no, just wear what is comfortable. And for me, what is comfortable is covering up that bit of skin at the back of my neck that I have an issue with labels and fresh air.
I completely agree. I'm very much into always going back to how it feels in the body, with the body yes, body no. And if it's a body yes, then I wear it. If it's a body no, I do not. And that's it. There's no more discussion, because otherwise I can drown in the land of overthinking. I mean, seriously.
I've only just learnt that. Yeah. At whatever I am, 44. So how can we expect children to sit quietly in the classroom when they're going through all this, So I hope like with my children, I hope they can recognize this, or they do recognize this at a young age, so that they can help themselves and give themselves what they need. And
so how did it shift for you to get the diagnosis? You were sitting in the doctor's office, crying, and what happened then? How did you get from that point of
there was like nearly 10 years between that time and me getting a diagnosis. The diagnosis didn't come until my daughter got a diagnosis, and that took a few years of learning. You'll hear, she'll have her interview, won't she, and you'll hear about her story. But there was a few years of really difficult time when she started school, and that started off a process of going through CAMS, which is the child mental health people, and she had educational psychologists see her, and speech therapists, and all this, and that led on to her having a diagnosis. But throughout those few years, I was researching like a crazy woman on Google,
like we do,
just researching. And a friend, somebody that I'd just met actually at the time, suggested her daughter had autism. And I was like, autism? Okay. I hadn't actually come across autism at that point. I think she called it Asperger's at that time. And I was a little bit kind of in denial even that her daughter had it. I was like, oh, she seems fine to me.
Oh, have we heard that?
She seems fine to me, And then I started to think, oh, maybe that's I hate to say this now, but I'm going to say it anyway. At the time, maybe that's what's wrong with my daughter. Oh, the thought of saying wrong, because she's so amazing, she's not wrong. But at the time, that's what I thought. Maybe that's why she doesn't speak, or and then I started doing the mad Googling on that for a long time. And also a teacher at the school took me aside one day and said, why don't you speak to your daughter, because maybe Jessica's autistic. And so she went, that was a whole process. She went through it. But the whole time we were going through that process, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, that's like me. That's like me. And that's like me, and I didn't want to make it about me, because it was about her at the time. But just in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I know where she gets this from. This is from me, 100%. So once she was diagnosed, I then knew, it's like I had this secret that I hadn't told anyone, that I'm also autistic. And then I started to feel like, right, okay, now she's the only autistic in the family. Like, she's the diagnosed one. We're all perfectly normal, and she's the diagnosed one. And that didn't sit well with me, because I was thinking, I know I am too. And I don't want her to grow up feeling like the odd one out. So I was like, I think I'm going to get an assessment myself. And I just paid to go privately, and I just got it done within the week. And a week later, I knew that I was autistic. And then it was kind of nice, I mean, it was more than nice. It was huge relief, and I was really happy. And I felt like it's not something that I'd put on my daughter as well. It's us, and we're fine. And the more we found out about it, we realised how fine we actually were. And we started to adjust our language accordingly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like you say in the book, I'm not wrong, I'm not broken, I'm just autistic.
Yeah, exactly. Because I actually think, I mean, you're a prime example. Like, I just find you've got so many, like, how can I put it, superpowers, I could say. You have, like, how could you have the label disordered? That just doesn't fit with me. Like, I feel like you've got so many more. I'm going to upset neurotypical people now.
You're digging yourself into an autistic hole. I'm just leaving you doing it because it's beautiful. This is why we do not communicate with neurotypical people, because the more we go in, the more we dig into that hole, we just make everything worse and worse and worse and worse. So I'm just leaving you to it, Louise. Go on, go in. I am
Let
not
me keep
watching.
digging. If I had to, okay, I'll dig a little bit more.
Go on.
I just think neurodiverse people or autistic people are just amazing. Like this, the talents they've got, the insights they've got. I don't know. My words are just not coming out right. But put it this way: if there were 1,000 neurodiverse, I'll say autistic. If there were 1,000 autistic people, and then 1,000 neurotypical people, okay. From my own personal perspective, I'm not saying this is how it really is, just in my experience, those 1,000 autistic people, are so much more diverse, and have so many more gifts and talents and uniquenesses. If I then look at, from my personal perspective, the neurotypical people, oh my God, I'm going to say this, but they all look the same to me. Like, oh God, did I just say that?
I can't tell them apart. I can't tell them apart.
They all communicate from the same rule book, and I don't get that rule book. And they all like do the same thing. And I know that they might look at us and go, well, you all do the same thing. You're sitting there rocking, you all sit there rocking, or but no, there's so much depth to neurodiversity. My God, there's so much depth to it. And the more neurodiverse people you meet, the more amazing neurodiversity seems. Yet the more neurotypical people I meet, I don't mean to segregate people like this, but the more neurotypical people, the more frustrated I get that they just don't understand. And I've forgotten. Once again, I've forgotten what the question was.
It's completely fine. It's completely fine. I think actually, you have probably heard as well 1,000 times when you tell that you're autistic to a neurotypical person that they say, yeah, I think I'm a little bit on the spectrum as well. I'm actually, I think we're all a little bit autistic. And we always hear that. But I have my own theory about it. I think it's because that box that society wants us to fit into, nobody fits into that bloody box. Nobody fits into it. And it's not only us who are masking, neurotypical people are masking as well. They're so trying to do the right thing and doing it the right sequence and not step outside and dress the right way. My son, he wrote me the other day and asked, can I wear a red tie for a wedding? Because there are bloody rules on what color tie you can wear to a wedding. Seriously, rock up in a flower dress if you want to, off you go. But it's like there are those rules that they just, and so I think we're not the only one masking. I do think the neurotypical people, they're masking, like insane. And that's why so many people have stress. So many people have anxiety and depression. So many people, especially men, are not talking about their mental health, so they're committing suicide. I mean, all those things just happen because there's that bloody box that nobody fits into. And yes, it's true that you and I, our brains are more alike in many ways. That's why we rock and we stim and we have more or less the same history. But the same with neurotypical people. They're struggling just as much, just in a different way. And I think the whole point of it is that we really need to just wake up and see there's no bloody box. All of us are weird. All of us are different, and we do not fit in any structured box at all. It's just completely man-made, societal created,
And that leads me to think, like, in an ideal world, let's say, there would be no diagnosis. There is no, why? Don't get me wrong, the diagnosis, the label has helped me hugely. I mean, I wouldn't be speaking to you, and I wouldn't have met you or the others had I not no, that's not true, because I could have self-diagnosed. I could have just said, hey, I'm a self-diagnosed autistic person, and still met you. So the diagnosis wasn't really necessary.
Sorry, go on.
In an ideal world, what I'm kind of thinking is, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need these labels.
Exactly.
Wouldn't need these labels at all. And they're not really.
They're not needed. The only reason we need a diagnosis saying that we're autistic, and why we feel so relieved of getting to know that we're autistic, it's only that now we don't have to mask anymore. Now we know that I'm not weird. I'm just different in a different way than other people, and I do not fit into that rule book. And the way, for example, we're going to talk about that in a second, the way with girlfriends and friendships and relationships, and the way that we try to fit in and do the right way that we're supposed to do, and always fall through. It never ever works. We lose relationships and friendships and girlfriends like one after the other, or like you say with job, that we mask and we really pull ourselves together and we're amazing, and then we get a burnout, and then we need to change job and change direction. So okay, thank you. Would you be fine with if we move on to the next one and talk about practice?
I'll try and stay on track.
No, it's fine. I got notes here. I got notes.
Okay.
I would like to hear for you to tell the story about, Louise, how she felt when she, found out that there was a place that there was meditation or mindfulness or whatever it was, and then you met a monk. Could you tell that story, please?
Okay, so I mean, before then, I'd never meditated. I didn't really know what it was. I'd never been spiritual at all. So it kind of felt like a big thing to like go from not having a clue about anything like that, never having even, I think, sat there, closed my eyes and gone into myself ever. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine now?
How did you manage?
How did I? I don't know. But I was so out there. I often wonder if they're, like kind of like the ADHD profile a little bit, that I'm kind of so out there and scattered, and I've never brought myself in. So I didn't get like the stepping stone of a meditation class or delving into it a little bit online or whatever. It was like, right, bam, here you go, you're sitting with a monk for 2 hours. And so it was like masterclass.
But how did you find it? Because you have a beautiful description in the book on you going there and trying to find out which room it is, and then you go up some stairs and then there sits a monk. I see, like in an attic or in a room.
That's what it was like. Yeah, because it was kind of one of those things. I used to be more so like a bit easily led and get myself into all sorts of stupid situations. And anyone who happened to be with me at the time, it would be like an ongoing joke, like, oh no, what's she getting us into now? Or every time everyone comes out with me, it's like an adventure, because I get into some sticky situation, something happens.
I recognize that, completely recognize that. Yeah.
And I think anyone who knows me will agree. But I was on my own this time, of course, and so I'm saying to myself, Louise, what have you got yourself into now? Like, you're in this empty building at night. A bit spooky to meet, I don't know, to meditate, whatever that means, like just, it was just all a bit weird. But I was kind of, it's funny. It is funny looking back, but at the time I was absolutely rock bottom. Do you know what I mean? I was kind of, I will try anything at this stage just to find that much happiness. I was so sad and unhappy at the time. But yeah, so I went up there, and do you know what? The monk actually really, really looks like Chris Jarrell. It's not Chris Jarrell. It wasn't Chris Jarrell, but he did really look like him. So when I first met Chris Jarrell, I was like, oh no, it's not him. Because also, do you get face? But I don't recognize people very well.
Oh, you don't?
No, I'm really bad at recognizing people.
I can't remember the name for that, but it has.
There is a name.
Yeah.
It was in my autism assessment. The name was mentioned. Because Brad
Pitt, he has the same. He doesn't recognize faces.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the same.
I remember just quickly. When my son went to school for a couple of terms, and I said hello every morning to the same blonde woman. I have an issue, it's blondes as well. People that are blonde, I can't seem to understand their face. And
they all look like
every morning for like 2 terms. I said hello to this woman every morning, thinking she was somebody else. Like, my mask, hi, and it wasn't her. It was like a totally different person. I just get myself in those kind of situations. So anyway, so he and Chris Jarrell, I can't actually tell. I can't tell the difference. And I should say, Chris Jarrell is the editor of the book. If anyone's, Chris Jarrell. Yeah. If you turn over, you'll see the monk.
And he's there, and he's not the monk in the attic. He's not the monk in the attic. He is.
Do you know what? I bet he looks nothing like him. He probably looks nothing like him.
No, he might be tall, skinny, and red bushy hair. Yeah. It's
just me. To me they look the same. So anyway, he was northern as well, like Chris. So he just lovely northern accent, which I really remember. And it went like this. It went like me sitting there, basically disbelieving everything he said and arguing with him.
You were the only one there. You were the only one.
I was the only one there. Nobody else turned up.
Out at night. Yeah, the only one out and out going into a building to meet a stranger at night. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, you were the only one there. Completely makes sense. Let's jump into this white unmarked van and drive off. It's like that. Great idea. Let's do that. Let's see where this takes us.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in a building late at night, and you're meeting a strange monk that is sitting in an attic, and you're starting an argument with him. Go on.
Yeah. And basically everything I didn't get how it worked at that time. So what I found out later is that somebody, the monk or whoever, the teacher, sits at the front and speaks, and the students listen. That was how it was. But obviously, me having never been to a class before, I didn't get that. I thought I was there to argue. So
an open debate.
So I did. I really did. And everything he said, but I just, but I can't do that. I can't do that. What are you telling me, that I have to have compassion for sanghas? No, I couldn't do that. I can't. I think he got my way of being, because he was very direct. And I think afterwards, when I saw, other times when I saw this particular monk, he wasn't so, but in that, he kind of met me where I was.
Beautiful.
He really seemed to get it, and he got me where I was, and he just taught me stuff, like really basic stuff, like, that if I get, this anger I've got towards so and so, it's harming me. Really basic, like that. And I was like, wow, so profound.
But it is.
But now it seems obvious.
No. But remember, there might be people sitting, and there might be autistic sitting and watching, that are having meltdowns, that are so much in their heads. There's so much in the land of overthinking, and they just, you know, keep grasping on to all those things that happen against them all the time, because a lot of things are happening against us all the time. That's how it feels. So to become aware of all that anger and all that bottled up and all that resentment, the only one that is harming is you.
Exactly.
No, it's like making poison to another person and drink it yourself. That is how basically how it is. You're the only one who is hurt and the only one that this is harming. And it might be basic to sit and talk about, but it's super, super important for everybody who doesn't know it. Just like it was for you, you know. You know, somebody might be sitting and listening to this now and going like, oh my God, I never ever thought about that. That's how important it is, you know.
Yeah. I think the reason I kind of laugh a little bit now is like, because I see stuff like that come up on Facebook memes. Back then there wasn't, I don't remember there being Facebook memes. I don't know that I saw anyway back then. And so it really was like a wow moment. It's like, and he taught me other things like that, you know, like I don't know, I can't think now off the top of my head, but just really kind of.
I can find it because you're talking about.
Did I say it
again? Get the book, read the chapter. It's amazing.
I thought you were talking to me then. I was about to.
No, I'm talking to everybody out there. There's the ones that are sitting behind you.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah, you're talking about this. The next night, I found myself in a dark old building in our local town center. I wandered through the corridors, dubiously searching for a friendly bunch of meditators who were going to reveal the secret of a happy life. But I only found silence. And then you're walking up the stairs, and then you see that a cheerful-looking monk. And then you for the next couple of hours, I sat there alternating beautiful meditation and deep conversation with a real Buddhist monk. Everything I believed until that evening was shaken up and left to resettle in quite a different order than before. This kind monk spoke of acceptance, compassion, love, letting go of my opinions, accepting defeat, and offering the victory to others.
I think it was the letting go of opinions that I was thinking of. I really did hold on to opinions and try to make everybody else come round to my way of thinking because I was right.
Yeah.
You know, because I think you can really grasp at well, this is, you know, this is this way. It's blatantly clear. How can you not see this? How can you not see that this is this way? And get really frustrated. Why can't you see that? Why and get frustrated with other people for not seeing what you can so clearly see? Yeah. And then he just suggested, really, you know, he just suggested. I think he got me to look back at opinions that I'd had in the past. Have you still got them? Well, no, they've changed a bit. And then there was a light bulb moment. But I think I remember there being a point where I probably did, you know, I think he was keen to get me into meditation to shut me up, maybe, because I was
amazing.
And it was an amazing meditation.
It's also I'm just thinking because you have somewhere I was trying to find, you have the somewhere where you say that the way that Buddhism is, it's logic, you know, it just makes it's so straightforward and it's so logical, and it's the same experience I have with all the suttas. I felt like when I read them, it was just like so logical, and it just spoke to me because I love logic, you know. I crave logic, I crave you know, that pattern. And I have that huge pattern recognition in me, and it just everything just settled and landed in a place that just makes sense. And I think that is also one of the reasons why we often grasp to being right, because very often we are, you know, very often.
And you said it, yeah.
No, but very often we are, because we have done the research, you know. We have looked into it, we have twist and turn. We're really good at seeing things from above and getting, you know, the overall picture of it. So we know that this is the best solution. So it makes no sense. Why not choose that when it is the best solution? But the part that is really important, and that Buddhism has taught me, is that is just an opinion. You know, even though that I might be right, and even though it might be logical, and even though all of that, if it how that rings true in me, it might not ring true in another person. And a lot of times when there is an argument, what is very, very often needed is just for me to create space for the other opinion. And it's just an opinion. It's not, there's nothing to, it's not like a competition. You know, I have one opinion that rings true to me, great for me. They have another opinion that rings true to them, that's great for them. And then I can listen to that without feeling that I need to impose my opinion just because it's logical and makes sense to me. I don't need to impose that to anyone. They are completely entitled to their space and their insight in their own time. And that is something I have learned from Buddhism for absolutely 100% sure.
Yeah, and it was just like a, you know, drop the mic moment. It was like, boom. Yeah. I just, now I see it. I really see it. And there were lots of those moments during that one meeting with that monk. It was like I just, from all directions, I was getting that, well, I wouldn't call them realizations, but on a normal, you know, realizations on a normal, how we talk about realizations normally in the world. Oh, I realized this, I realized that. And then we did the meditation. And I think it was almost like it was the first time I'd ever meditated, but I'd offloaded a lot of the mental, can't swear.
Go on, you can, it's fine.
The mental crap that was in my head, I just kind of shifted it through logic. I hadn't shifted it because somebody told me to let go of it. I'd shifted it. He couldn't tell me how to think or how to feel, but he guided me for me to use my own brain or mind to logically get to the conclusion myself, which is totally different experience.
Completely.
Shift it. And then we went into the meditation and it was amazing. I must admit, I did expect every meditation to be like that from then on, and it wasn't. But it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know when, you know, I think I said in the book, like, there was no up or down, or there was nothing. I couldn't feel my body. It was just empty space and his voice. The most amazing experience ever.
I completely agree. I remember the first time that I meditated. It was at a friend's of my dad's, where my dad and I lived with my dad, was raised by my dad. And it was one of his friends that was, you know, Theravadan, and we went for meditation. And I remember the first time that I really went into that deep relaxation, and it was just quiet. And it was the first time in my life that it was quiet. You know, that it wasn't that onslaught of smells, layers of sound, all the depth about seeing and picking up and everything, and it was just quiet. And then and then I was hooked, and I've been practicing since.
It's not always easy to describe, is it? It's almost like there are no words for it.
But it's also why I think Buddhism and Buddhist practice is so important for autists. It really is, because we need some kind of tool, first of all, to accept things as they are, without any need for things to be different, but just accepting it as it is, and then to get quiet, to get that stillness, that silence, which is just like,
Well, I mean, since then I have, and I mean never, had any form of meltdown ever.
Wow.
Since that moment. And when I say meltdown, I'm talking about, for me, that was like the kind of going off.
But also the destructive rage,
that's what I call meltdown.
The hurting, the harming,
I never had that again. Shutdowns, different story.
Yes.
That happens, but no, never again did I ever have a meltdown from that moment on, which was I'm so grateful for, because that was the same year I had a baby.
Yeah.
And they've never had to witness that. They've had them. But I've been able to help, and I understand it, and how worse it would have been had I not learned those skills or not met Buddhism at that time and then become a mum.
Yeah.
You know, that could have gone such a different direction.
I thought about that so many times as well. I have 2 children, and I thought so many times that if I did not have my evening practice of meditation and silence and getting back to myself, and I have no idea what kind of mom I would have been. You know,
I hate to think what kind of mum I would have been, to be honest. I wasn't, oh, I don't know I don't know the appropriate language to use, but I feel like I wasn't sane. You know, I would just eat so easy.
It's that bouncing between what we can feel, because the way that I have experienced, at least, very, very often, I don't have a problem with me. I don't have a problem with the way I perceive the world. I haven't got a problem with my sensory experiences. I haven't got a problem with the way I think or am in the world. I haven't got a problem with that. I do, however, know what a huge problem I am to other people. So it's so in that, I'm really trying to be less me all the time. I'm trying to be more digestible and more accommodate more, and be more not laugh at as loud, not stim, not having an opinion, not being a know-it-all. And I bloody am a know-it-all, because I know it all, you know. but people do, and then also the thing with seeing things so clearly, and people do not, when they say, but just tell me the truth, you know. I believed it. I thought they wanted to know the truth. Turned out they didn't. They wanted me to reassure them or bring on some shallow nicety. They didn't want the truth. So it's like there's oh God, it's like a full life of that, and that bouncing back and forth of being in me and being content and happy with me, and then trying to fit into that crazy world out there where I'm not allowed to be me, you know.
Yeah, and I think what I thought of there while you were speaking as well is 2 things. Try to remember the second thing. The first thing is, you say something and people listen to what you say, but they've got this, but what does she mean?
Yes.
Well, I mean what I said. I don't mean anything ever than what I say. What I say is what I mean. It's really, really simple.
There's nothing between the lines. There's nothing, you know. Yeah. Oh my God.
And there's this whole like, because I said that, I must have meant this.
Yes.
I can't even talk about it because I can't get my head around it.
Or the why did you say it like that? How else am I going? I'm using words. My vocal cords. I'm using words, and I'm, you know, air is coming. I have no idea how I can say things differently.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Sign
it. How else do you want me to say it than how I'm saying it?
Yeah. So I say something. You're not replying now to what I've said. You're replying to what you think I meant.
With what I said. Yeah, oh my God.
Incorrect, because I didn't mean anything other than what I said. So now we're having a conversation, but your reply isn't matching what I've said. Your reply is matching what you think I meant, which is made up in your mind.
Yes, exactly.
No, I'm completely confused.
Yeah. And then it's gonna be, why didn't you reply? And I'm like, I have no idea how to reply, because we're no longer talking about what I said. We're talking about what you think I said and your reaction to what you think I said. And now you want me to reply to what you think I said about your I'm lost. I'm lost. It's complicated.
But why didn't you say it? Or why didn't you do? Why didn't you say this? Or why didn't you do that? Or what? You know what? I don't get. Well, what was I supposed to say? Was I supposed to say, yeah, well, like you should have done this, or you should have said that? Well, where? How do I know?
Yeah.
Like, when that's come up a lot in the past, actually, is if you make a friendship and then people expect to be called.
Yes.
I don't understand, like, why. I will call you, like, I mean, it takes a lot for me to call someone, to be honest. That's an anxiety that I really don't like speaking on the phone. I struggle to know when it's my turn to talk. I can't quite, unless I'm like, it's almost like unless I'm in a hole in a box, I can't hear what's being said. So having phone conversations is very, very, very uncomfortable for me. And then you ask me why I didn't call you. Well, because I didn't have anything to say.
Yes.
Well,
yes. Oh my God.
I don't even know how to say.
Oh God. I've lost so many friendships on that account. On that
and that's wrong. I've done something wrong.
Why haven't you written me? I got nothing to say. But you could just tell me what's going on. I have nothing to say. What am I supposed to write? It would be nice to hear from you once in a while. I have nothing to say. As soon as I have something to say, I will contact you. And it's not that I don't want to be in a relationship, girlfriend, whatever. It's not that I don't want to be your girlfriend. I do. I just have no idea what to say, on a daily basis.
The sad thing is that the people that I'm thinking of, like, I really like them and I'd love to be friends with them, but I can't meet their expectations. And so I settle for, well, I'm better off just having no friends, which I don't know if that, I don't know where that sits. I don't know. I'm not saying that to like get sympathy or anything. I'm happy. I don't need people. But the people that I'm thinking of are like, well, I like them. I'd like them to be in my life and I'd like to get on with them. But I don't understand the games. I don't understand the games they play. And it is like games to me. Like, if you just talk to me when you need to talk to me and say what you need to say, and I do the same, everyone's happy. But they won't do that. And the other thing I was going to say, the second thing was when after diagnosis, when you realise that you're autistic and you start to maybe appear more autistic. So one thing to mention there is that once you appear autistic, it looks like since diagnosis you've got worse. Which I think 2 counsellors before have said to me, not to have the autistic label because your symptoms will get worse. Like, not that I'm just being myself now, not that I'm just more comfortable to be my autistic self, but I've got worse, like that, which is really weird. And then on a more social level, okay, so you tell a few people, I'm autistic, I've had this diagnosis and blah blah blah, and it explains a lot, and people go, oh yeah, no, that's fine, they're really understanding, and they're like, you just be yourself, okay, great, I'll be myself. What's the matter with her? What's wrong with her? Well, I'm being myself. I mean, it's not quite like that, but it's just
it's such a valid point, and it's something that I really think that everybody recognizes. And it's also what I experienced in sanghas. I'm not only talking about the sangha now, but also in other sanghas I've been to, and I know you have similar experiences. Is that they're very interested in accommodating, and very, very interested in creating the space for us to be so it is a space for us to be autistic in the Sangha, but they do not want us to be autistic.
Yeah.
They would
be yourself, but not like that.
Yeah, exactly. But come out and socialize. Be complete yourself, but you can't sit on your own. Just do exactly what is the best for you. But could you stop stimming while we're meditating? It's like,
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I just get excited sometimes when you
so it's like, and so this shout out obviously is to all the Buddhist centers and sanghas out there. If you want autists, then
because I had this conversation once about when I meditate, I rock naturally on my own in my room. I rock, and I feel that really gets me deeper, and I'm like, I need to rock. And it wouldn't, if the person next to me was if there was a person next to me with their eyes closed, they wouldn't know. I wouldn't distract anyone else. But I did bring this up to a Buddhist teacher once, saying that, you know, when I meditate, I really want to rock. And she said, well, you know, it's a distraction to you and your own mind. Like,
Set the neurotypical.
so for after that, like, 'cause I didn't realize at that time that I was autistic. Like for years, actually, I'm sure it must have been a couple of years, I tried to stay still because I didn't want to like get used to this distraction of rocking. So I tried to stay still, and then I felt like I could never go deep into my meditation.
I had exactly the same conversation with Danny the other day.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly the same. Where she also said that she's sitting and stimming, and the way that I feel it, normally when I meditate, I sit still. I might twirl a bit or I might rock a bit, but it's easier for me to sit still when I'm meditating. But chanting, me sitting still and chanting, I mean, it's a full Stevie Wonder going on when I'm chanting. You know, it's like
I get you.
And the thing is, for me to meditate and reach the same level as the neurotypical reaches by sitting still, I need to stem. For me to chant and reach the same level, I need to rock. I need to. So it's just a way for us to experience the same as the neurotypicals are experiencing, and that's really, really complicated in a sangha. And I also think it's one of the reasons why hybrid sanghas are so important. You know, keep having the hybrid sanghas, so neurotypical people can go there, or autists can go there, and neurotypical people or autists can be, you know, on and do it online. So the opportunity is there, so we can you know, be ourselves and participate and still have, you know, experience the Dharma.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Could we talk a bit about the Sangha? Because you have a lot of we're moving into the topic of the talk, which is very much about this, how to be in a Sangha and how to be in the world as an autist. And before we started, you said that you felt a bit uncomfortable talking about the chapter, because we wrote this chapter for the book 2 years ago, and a lot of things has happened over those 2 years. Regarding my chapter, you know, lots of things I would say different or do different, but because it's 2 years ago. And when you wrote this, you have a passage in that I'm just gonna read, see if I can find it. That's not that. You have it. You write here about being in the Sangha that you was in at the time. I can't relax in the company. Why do I always want to run away? I was the member who was beyond help and who always blurted out the most ignorant comments that seemed to exit my mouth in quite a different way than I had intended. I was as much help in, you know, after, I'm jumping in the paraphrase in the sentence it's about after, normally in a Sangha, after you have had your meditation, you go out and then there's tea and cake, and there's always, you know, people staying later and clearing up. But when you have executive dysfunctioning, that is like, as you say, I was as much help in the kitchen as a chocolate teapot. Exactly, I completely recognize that. And then you say, at the end of many of the sessions, I go home and spend hours lying in bed. I was unable to move or open my eyes, open my eyes. I feel nauseous and my head was throbbing. I recognize that so much. This is me after every single Sangha night, after every single Sangha day I've been there. Every time I'm in a Sangha, that is my evening. That's my evening.
Yeah, I would say most. When I say most, I would say almost every time.
Yeah,
it was just, that's how it was.
Yeah.
So what? Just talk about. Do you want me to just talk about the? Sangha, like.
Yeah. This was what you wrote in the.
Yeah.
In the Sangha that you win, and then you before we started recording, you said that you felt a bit uncomfortable talking about it because you're not in that Sangha anymore.
Oh, I said I feel a bit of a fraud. Yeah, like yeah. So I mean, first of all, to say the people in the Sangha, I mean, there've been a few Sanghas actually, and every single person from every single Sangha is just absolutely lovely and the type of person that I would love to be friends with, first of all. But I think in one Sangha in particular, I think how can I put it? Like, if I'd come out and said, look, I'm autistic, don't label yourself like that. And I know that's true because I did come out and say that my daughter was autistic at that time, and there was a lot of that attitude. We hear the usual, don't label yourself, like there's nothing wrong with you.
We're all Buddha nature.
Yeah,
you are beyond your diagnosis. We're all Buddha nature. I've heard that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's this sense of like, we're all Buddha nature. Yeah, all Buddha nature. There's nothing wrong with you or her at the time. And I want to say, no, I didn't say there was anything wrong. I just said she's autistic, or and so I know that if I had said that about myself, now I'm labeling myself, and I already knew what their opinions were. I suppose I can't speak for every single person, but the ones that I spoke to. And so I was very aware of that it's not accepted. And I'm not, I don't want to say that it's like that in Buddhism in general. I mean, this was a very particular one group, like few people within one group. And that was the experience that I had, that it wasn't kind of recognized or accepted. So I knew to just carry on being normal and stop selfishly thinking I'm different to everybody else. That's, I think, how I felt. So I just masked, really masked every single time I was in the Sangha. I don't think I was ever really myself the whole time that I was there. In fact, even when I was meditating, I don't think I was really deeply meditating. I feel a little bit like the whole thing was just me being fake. And I don't mean that like I was doing that intentionally. It wasn't an intentional thing. It was me desperately trying to fit in and survive within the Sangha. But obviously that has a limit. You can't carry on forever like that. And in our Sangha, every Sunday, we met during the evening one night a week, and then it was every Sunday for 4 hours. And man, I couldn't cope with that. There were times where the pressure in my head was so bad that I would stop halfway home and be sick, actually vomit. Like it was so bad. And again, everyone knows I get migraines. I'm known for my migraines.
It's masking.
Do you know what? We can call it migraine, but I know what it is.
It's masking. It's a result of masking.
Yeah, it's a result of masking, and I know that. And I know that because especially I've really tested it out in the last couple of weeks, actually. Just not masking and the ear defenders, wearing glasses, and I've not had a migraine. I know what it is, and I've always known what it is. And it's kind of been like a long-term joke actually in my family, because my mum has similar experience. We call them social hangovers. They're social hangovers, like
social hangover. That's a great word.
Yeah, and we know that if we go out, say like this happens, but say I was to go out on a Saturday night, I know to keep Sunday free because of my social hangover. And that's what the social hangover is. It's if I let it be and don't medicate, I will be constantly being throwing up, being sick, and I can't speak, and I can't see, and I can't. It's such a shutdown. I mean, everything just shuts down. But I've come off again. What was we talking about?
We're talking about the Sangha. We're talking about the masking. I just want to say that it's really important to note that both you and I only have experiences with lovely people in the Sangha that we would love to be friends with, and we would love to socialize with, and we would love to have a life with, but it's
not their fault.
No, and we just can't. So go on.
Yeah, no, it's not their fault at all. I mean, they're lovely people. And actually a couple of them very recently contacted me, and I've kind of not pursued it because I know it's going to go wrong. I know I know I can't, I'm done with this masking. I'm just done with it. I need to get myself into a position in life where I'm just not doing it anymore, and I don't care what anyone thinks. And that's kind of where I am at the moment. I still mask. Can't seem to help it. But I'm done with, I'm avoiding situations now where I do have to.
It's very much about being comfortable with you the way that you are. It's really, really reminding yourself what you know, because you know there's nothing wrong with you, and you're completely fine in your own company. And when you're alone and you're meditating, you're rocking and stimming, and you take a blanket up over your neck and all of that. It's just staying with that when you're with other people, staying with that when you're with other people. So you're not trying to become who you think they need you to be, but my experience is that I think that a lot of relationships I lost because I was masking. That it's not it's not the problem that I'm an autist, it's that I'm trying not to be, and that is just so inauthentic. And of course the relationship ends, because the people that I'm meeting now in my life, where I'm very, very open about being autistic, and I'm just me, and the way that I am the world, I'm completely comfortable. I experience that the ones that have an issue with me being like that, I'm not really feeling any loss when the relationship doesn't go any further. And the ones that do want to be with me, they're completely fine with me being, my full lovely autistic self. I do want to say that I have had an experience very, very recently where I have experienced that how can I say this? In me, I'm fine with toiling, and I'm fine with dressing the way I am, and I'm fine with eating the way I do, and doing the things that I do, being the way that I'm completely fine. But I know how much of a burden that is on other people. So therefore I'm not masking about it anymore, but I'm very, very aware that right now I'm making people uncomfortable. And then I have recently experienced that someone really appreciate me being like that, actually really appreciate, that I don't need to be different. And that finding that mirror, like I have with you, I have no issue with you sitting and rocking. You rock away, girl. I'm fine. So, but
that, maybe you could see that.
The whole world sees it, Louise.
Okay.
But that being met by someone else that is so completely on board and fine with that, it is healing something. It is healing something. So even though that I'm fine with me being accepted by the world or the people that I surround myself with, it is significant. It is significant. And
well, I think the reason why, like I said before we started recording, that I was a little bit uncomfortable with it is because, like, since then I left the sanghas that I was in, and I've not joined another one. So for the last 2 years I've not met any other practicing Buddhist. I say I don't practice myself. I live as a Buddhist day to day. Like my life is in line with Buddhism. But there's no formal practice. I don't meet in a sangha. So what I was saying is I feel a bit of a fraud having written in a book about Buddhists where I'm not really.
You are living the Dharma, sweetheart. You're living the Dharma. You're living the Dharma.
I'm not part of a Buddhist Sangha. So, like, but that's because of this. That's because of what we're talking about. It's not because I don't want to be. It's because I'm kind of done with it. I'm done with the masking. I'm done with and I haven't yet tried to do it without masking. I'm still not.
Still processing,
I'm still processing and with all that. I don't know. I mean, I'm at a little turning point in my life at the moment. I don't know what way that's going to go.
I think for anybody who's watching that are at the same point as you are, where you so deeply intrinsically in you feel, I'm done masking, I'm done I'm not doing it anymore. Done. I'm not going to spend day after day after day with migraine. I remember my life before I had, you know, my diagnosis. I was with migraine. I mean, it was every other day, you know, being on so much and trying to manage as well as I could. And it was like, oh God, it was exhausting. And I didn't have a life. I was just masking to fit. So I completely relate. And for anybody that is listening and is having that, okay, I'm done masking too, I'm done with it. Allow yourself to have the space where you're okay with you and you do it in your own way, and just letting that slowly expanding into areas where then you can go to the grocery store or meeting up with a girlfriend or someone somewhere where you feel safe, where you are not masking, and then you slowly just let it expand. And I would also say find autistic communities where you're with other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like we're talking about making the autistic Sangha, where we can meet and we can practice together, and it's a place for autists to be and having a Buddhist practice. Yeah,
I really enjoyed. We all met, didn't we, recently? And I really enjoyed that. It was just the first time in my life, actually, that I've just been surrounded by people who get me, who understand, you know, and I understand them. Obviously, we're all different, and we don't understand each other totally, I guess. But there's just this acceptance, and no expectation.
yeah.
You know, if somebody didn't want to come to dinner, that's fine. There's no
And
expectation. No one's like, oh, what's the matter with them? You know, it's fine. It's fine. And that was just magical. I mean, since diagnosis, I really don't like that word. I'm going to find a different word for that. But since then,
realized.
Yeah, since I realized, I have met other autistic people because I home educate my children, and home education is filled with wonderful, quirky autistics. And so I have met other people, but I think a lot of us are still on that kind of journey of finding out, because some of us have been, you know, endured the school system as parents and then taking our children out of school, and then we're still kind of trying to find our way in the world. But I don't know, meeting with all us who contributed to the book was really the most I've ever felt, like that sense of belonging that I've never felt before, ever. And you know, if we did that like once a year, I'd be happy. It's not like, oh, I found my place where I belong and that's it. Can we all be like best friends and speak to each other on the phone? No.
No.
But that's it. We get it, don't we? We get it, and that's magical. That's just amazing. That doesn't happen in life. Well, it does, but it didn't.
Yeah, but it's also about creating for us what neurotypical people they automatically have. And I also think it's it is important within Buddhism for sanghas and for Buddhist centers to realize that there is a huge group of people that are very, very devoted to the Dharma, but we don't fit in the Sangha, and they need, if they want us, they need to create a space for us to be. I mean, in my Sangha, it's really nice. We have, first of all, I did a talk at a Sangha night where I talked about autism, and I talked about how it is and how it is to be an autistic person. And at that point, I was the only one there. I was just the only one out, you know. And then after, it has really, I think we are 6 or 7 autists now in the Sangha, that and it's like known as, so people are coming to the Sangha as well for that. And it's okay for us to stay in the shrine room, you know, when everybody else is going out for tea. I mean, that sound of that layer of sound with people talking at the same time, it's like nightmare. So either I stay in the shrine room or I go into the library. We have that as a silent place whenever there's anything happening in the Sangha. So, and that's where you can withdraw into, or you can be in the garden or go for a walk. And that it's okay. It's okay for me not having lunch with the others when we have, you know, Sangha days or anything.
Yeah.
that means so much. It means so much.
Yeah.
Because,
Do you know? Sorry, go.
no, but it's also because a lot of autists, what I also realized in Leeds is that all of us are really truly living the Dharma, really living the Dharma, because once we have understood anything, it's logical, and then we just continue. Where neurotypical people, they need a reminder. And I know, for example, with the Plum Village tradition, they have, you know, that buddy system where you get a reminder and you are writing with another person every day. That's impossible for us, completely, and it's not needed. You know, give me a sutta and I sort it out myself. You know,
It's like you read it, you code it,
yeah,
done.
Yeah, fine.
You've coded it. You've coded it into your brain, and that's it. It's done.
I don't need anybody to call me in the morning and remind me about the alphabet. I'm fine. You know, I'm sorted. I know what the alphabet is. You don't need to remind me.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with and I do realize that neurotypical people, they need the reminding. They need the that reminder of it, and they need to be a huge thing. For example, in Mitra study groups, is the part about just meditating or just being skillful in their everyday lives, and a lot of the talk is that neurotypical people is about that, about how do I stay on the path. I can for the life of me not answer that question. I just do. I do. I don't kill anyone, you know, I don't steal from anyone. I don't lie. I don't need a reminder. Oh goodness, now I've murdered another person. I don't need a reminder, you know. I'm fine. and I cannot tell you how to live the Dharma. It's just do it.
It would be quite an effort to come off the path, you know.
It'd be illogical to come off the path.
I think if you were like I know not all neurotypicals want to go out and party and drink and things, but obviously I know that's not the case. But if I'm not lured by that, whereas somebody else might be tempted by things like that, I'm just not. I would rather be at home meditating than out socializing. So, and for that's just that. Yes. Of course. Why would you want to go out socializing when you could be at home meditating? That's crazy. Yeah. Why would you put yourself through that? But for other people, I'm aware that it's the opposite.
Yes.
And I find that honestly amazing. I can't imagine wanting to go out and socialize rather than be at home and meditate. So they've got that temptation, whereas we haven't. Do you get what I mean? And obviously introverts, just general introverts that might feel the same. But I think because we've got that trait or that way of being, that, and I guess there are autistics that like to go out and party as well. I'm really generalizing here, but I'm just talking.
Yeah, obviously, but we only have our own experience, obviously, and we can only ever talk about our own experience. But
exactly.
But, yeah. So obviously, there might be autists sitting and going, "Hang on, I love to party." Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah. Let me just see. I have some more things. Yes, you have a sentence where you say, I've never told anyone, Sangha or otherwise, the truth about why I always run away.
Yeah.
Could we talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you want to give me? Shall I give examples of running away? Or
yeah, I'm a runner too. So go on.
Yeah. It makes me think of jobs. That's what it makes me think of. Or did you want me to specifically talk about Sangha? I mean, I don't know.
I want to hear your story.
Okay. So an example of what I'm talking about that's just come to mind straight away is like I used to be a mortgage consultant. I mean, I've literally had so many jobs. I've been a sports massage therapist. I've been an estate agent, a mortgage consultant. I've been a horse riding instructor for beginners. I've done, you name it. I feel like I've done it, but just not for very long at all. And one of my brief jobs was as a mortgage consultant. And I used to quite a lot of Thursdays, I would get my migraine. So I'd have Thursdays off quite a lot. And there was this pattern emerging. So my boss was like, I've noticed you're having a lot of Thursdays. So he's assuming I'm going out on a Wednesday night, and get
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know myself at the time why I have Thursdays off. But I just don't know. I just don't know why I'm always ill on a Thursday. I don't know. Later come to realise 3 days was my max. I couldn't cope with more than 3 days. So, but anyway, there was one day I went in on a Thursday, and I was fine. I didn't have the migraine or anything. And a couple sat in front of me to arrange their mortgage, and they just started to talk to me. We want to remortgage this property in order to buy another property, and then with this equity we've got it. And I was looking, and I couldn't hear what they were saying. Now I'd written hundreds of mortgages, and I've had a few myself at that time. Like it wasn't the maths, it wasn't the job that was the issue. I just couldn't do peopling anymore. Yeah. And I couldn't understand what they were saying, and I could feel myself getting really hot and flushed and red, and then my head started to hurt. And I just said, I'm sorry, just give me a minute. And I think even they said, like, do you want to get a glass of water? Are you okay? And I said, no, I'm fine. Yeah, can we carry on? And then they carried on, and I'm scribbling down numbers, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in my head. I was going into like a shutdown, and I ran out the back, and I just sat there. In my head, I was rocking like this. I don't know if I really was. That's how I remember it. And people obviously looking at me like I was just the weird one of the office anyway. So like no one really gave me any sympathy for that. They were just like looking at me weirdly, and I just had a massive shutdown, melt. I don't know what you want to call it. And a colleague took over with the couple, and I ran away. I left, and I went out the back door, and I never come back.
Yeah.
That's what when you said they're running away, that's the example that came to my mind. That's not just one time that's happened. I'd say most jobs, because I've been self-employed a lot of the time because I can't be told what to do either. But when I've had a job, that's how it's left. That's how I've ended. I've run away.
Yeah.
I had a meltdown or a shutdown or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. It's so recognizable. I completely recognize the part where you say that you're sitting and looking, and you do for the life of you not understand a word that is saying. I understand the individual words, but I can't put it together into a sentence. It's just like I'm just completely blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they could have been saying, put the bag on the table, and I couldn't have understood. It could have been a simple sentence, is what they didn't have to be talking about complex, remortgages or whatever. It could have been a simple sentence. I could not process.
I remember that even as a child. I remember that being asked as a child, could you go to the basement and get something? And then I would go down to the basement and stand and look and go like, what? That completely blank, completely overwhelmed by what I'm supposed to do, and wanting to do it right, and not knowing, and being afraid of doing anything wrong, and it just completely shuts down. Well,
that was school in a nutshell, really. In general, for me, that was school was just like that all the time. Just that not being able to process what's being said or what you're supposed to be doing, or.
And it's really an important point that you say that your max is 3 days, because
it's less now. It was when I was young and had energy.
But it's so important to become aware of. So also to be able to plan accordingly. To when you're socializing. I know when I'm doing anything in the Sangha, I know to take the day after off.
Exactly.
I know when I come home, for example, when we had Nirvana Day or when we have Sangha Day or something like that, I know when I come home, I'm mute. I can't understand any messages that are left for me. I can't communicate. I can't even tell you please leave me alone, because I'm like, I'm done, and I just need space. I usually say I'm a cactus, I'm just, don't touch me, don't talk to me.
I've used that analogy.
You have.
I have. Yeah.
But it's how it feels, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it feels. Yeah.
I was on this course once for consent-based education. I think that was the course, and we were say, imagine we were a plant and we had to write down our care instructions.
Yeah.
And I was like,
just leave me alone.
Don't touch me.
Exactly. But it's exactly how it feels. It's exactly how it feels, where I'm just, and the only thing I need is just for you to leave me alone, and I will get back to you when I'm fine. Usually, 48, 72 hours, in that range. But if you leave me alone, then I will get better. And if you don't leave me alone, it's just adding to the other end,
Yeah. So I've run away from that, and retreats. I've left retreats halfway through, and just disappeared.
Yes.
Not without telling anyone, just disappeared. I just can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I've often run away.
Yeah. I have also done the same with relationships, where it's been all of a sudden been too much, or there's been too many demands that I need to be different. I need to accommodate in a way where I'm different, then I run away.
Yeah. I think I do that emotionally. But I think that's probably why, like I said, we met when we were 21, and it's the one thing that's lasted, because he accepts it. He really, like, just if I've been, say I'd been to like the Sangha meet, and then I've come home and I'm totally shut down. I go to bed, lights off, covers over my head, like I cannot be spoken to. I can't talk. I just need time to recover. There's no question. Is like, there's no like, and even the children, I mean, nobody, my son might come to me and just give me a kiss and then go back out the room or something. It's very sweet, but nobody will like expect any more of me within the family. And I think that's why it works. And it's also harmonious here, because everyone just accepts how everyone is.
Yeah.
But on the outside, I don't understand it. I mean, should I say, I forget that this is going out to the internet, but like, I will say it.
If like I said, if you say anything that you don't feel comfortable with, I can edit it. I think everything you say is relevant and important, because everything is so recognizable. But
I will say,
I want you to be comfortable.
No, I will, because this person that I'm talking about, I am very open to, actually, and they understand. So it's Neil's mum. No, she's watching. She's going to be like, oh no, what's she going to say? But like, if I go to stay, I mean, I don't really so much now because of the same issue, but if I was to go to stay, they live 3 hours away from us. So if we was going to stay there in their house, very lovely people, very accepting, can't do enough for us, but maybe not understanding how I need to be quiet, or I need to go into myself. Like, like if you're kind of sitting and you just need to be, and then somebody is always saying, oh, you okay? You're right. Or if you get up and you walk across the room, oh, you okay? Do you need anything? Really lovely. Like, I'm not criticizing at all. Really, really lovely. But that stresses me out. I don't know if you find that, like, just somebody constantly checking in with you all the time. Like, no, I'm fine. I just need to shut down for a bit, and then I'll be okay. If I'm allowed to shut down for a bit, then I can carry on and be okay. But sometimes you're not allowed to shut down in company. And there's been times when, say, I've stayed there and I've gone and said, right, I'm going to the bedroom and I'm going to go and lay down for a while, because I know I need to shut down in order to continue. Otherwise, it's all going to go terribly wrong. You've got to let me shut down for a while. And then, actually, when my husband's not been so understanding, like he might come in and go, what are you doing? Why are you sitting in here? Why don't you come out? Like, because he's then conscious that I'm looking rude.
Yeah.
And just leave me. I just need to relax for a while. I just need to shut down. well, why don't you tell anyone where you're going? You just suddenly disappear and go to the bedroom. Like, no, I really you don't understand how much I need to. If you want me to carry on coming here, I need to be able to shut down.
Yeah, because right now you're adding at the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in situations like that, and I'm not just talking about those particular people, I've been on holiday with people before, same thing. Like, you just need to let me shut down.
Yeah.
Like I do when I get home and everybody accepts it. I need to be able to do that in every situation.
Yeah.
In the Sangha, let me go into a quiet room.
Yeah.
You know.
I can give you a tip. It's an insider trading tip.
Okay.
Whenever you're in a situation where you're not allowed to go in and into a bedroom and allowed to, like in the Sangha, to go into a quiet room, go to the bathroom. Nobody's disturbing you. You can stay in there.
Oh yeah, but I need hours.
Yeah, me too. And then but most of the times people might, come and knock on the door. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I will be in shortly. And then they're not asking any questions. So you're allowed to stay in there as long as you want. Use the bathroom. I tell you. Because nobody's curious. No, what are you doing in there? Well, you guess. Nobody's asking.
I'm asleep in the bath, but I'm not going to tell you that. That's a good tip. Yeah.
I think a last thing, I have so many more things that I would like to talk to you about, but as we talked about, I would like to have an interview with you where we just talk about being female and autistic and all the different things.
Okay.
One thing that I would like to just finish up on, things we're going to talk about in that interview. It's going to be about phone calls.
Yeah.
we're gonna we're gonna talk about girlfriends, about the that sensation that I often have with, but just tell me what you want me to say. Because they want me to say something, they're not telling me what I want, what they want me to say. They want me to say it in the right way. And that we're going to talk about. And then the thing with replying, the difficulty I have with when somebody's writing me, they expect me to reply. Often I don't. Often I reply when it feels right to reply, and a month might pass. So that is the last thing I want to talk with you about in the next interview.
Okay.
In this one, is there anything more that we should talk about before we round it off, about Sangha, because I know you're not in the Sangha now. Is there anything that you would like to say because as we said, it's not about the people at the Sanghas. We love them and really, really want to be friends with them. It's just not possible for us to be friends in the way that we're supposed to be with socialization. Is there anything you would like to say as a final point?
I just think if there's one thing I could change at the moment, it would be for people to stop denying autism. Stop denying that we're all a little bit autistic. There's nothing wrong with you. Didn't say there was anything wrong, just said I'm autistic. All that. If people could just recognize it, it's happening on the inside. It's all happening on the inside, and you can't see what's happening.
Yeah.
But just believe me.
Yeah.
Believe me that it's happening, and I've had a lifetime of it. And just to, I don't know why I need the validation. I don't know why I need people to kind of believe me, but I do.
Well, I think it's a bit. I think it's more about the part of having that connection, having that mirror in that we have when we speak with other people, and when I share that I'm autistic and they go, well, we're all a little bit autistic, they are minimizing my experience and they're gaslighting me. I'm sharing something with you and you can take it as, it's like saying, I'm gay. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. I mean, it's gaslighting. So I don't think it's about me needing them to acknowledge me as who I am. It's more the common respect of acknowledging the other person, because clearly when I'm saying I'm autistic, there's nothing they can say to that. If they have an issue with that, then they need to speak with a therapist about that. It has nothing to do with me.
I think when I thought, why do I need this? What's come into my mind is like the children, the next generation. I suppose, I think of my children and I think, please let the world accept them. please, because they're not at the moment.
But it's also about that part, and I think we're going to talk more about that in the next interview. It's also about that part of that assumption that there's something wrong with me. I once, during the lockdown, I read a lot of books and I love to read. And I went to a used bookstore here in Shrewsbury where I live. And I went into the bookstore and I bought like 3 or 4 books, something like that. And then a few days later, I was back and buying more books. And she was like, you were here the other day, weren't you? And I was like, yeah, I am. And then she said, oh, I have this amazing, fiction, novels and stuff. And I'm like, no, I only read, non-fiction. And then we started to talk. Yeah, and then we started to talk, and then she said, but you must be reading a lot. And I'm going, yeah, I'm autistic, so I read a lot. And then she said, oh,
yeah.
And I said, you don't need to say that. I speak 5 languages and read a book a day. I'm fine. How are you? I get all snacky then, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, I think when I look at, say, my daughter, I'm desperate for the world to accept her, because all I see at the moment is, a kind of ostracization. Yes. And it really, really, really hurts. Probably hurts me more than her, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And I just think, please, like, if I, at my age and my generation, if I can make a difference to just help people perceive autism in a different way, in a more positive way, in a more accepting way, if I could, I feel like that's my mission in a way. Like, if we could just accept that we are who we are and accept the label. I know in an ideal world we wouldn't need the label, I understand that, but please, could we just accept it for now, so that people like us can, or like them, they can function in the world and be accepted and not scared. I think people are scared of it.
You think
people
so?
Are scared. I think if people have got on a child teen level, maybe, you got the young person who doesn't speak and doesn't join the group. People not scared as in, but I mean as in a bit like not understanding, uncomfortable. Yeah.
I think so too. I think people get uncomfortable when I say I'm autistic.
Exactly.
But it's not about my autism. It's about their assumption about my autism.
Yeah. So I want to help change that assumption. Let's teach them about autism, because there's a depth. Yeah, exactly, because there's a whole lot of depth of person there. What you're seeing is not because they're not speaking, it's not like a vacant, empty vessel. There's a lot in there. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say, isn't there? But
yeah, and in the next interview, I will also like to talk to you about being mom to Jessica, that's autistic mute, because that is a whole chapter on its own. And I love Jessica to bits. So yeah, and
she is amazing. I must admit.
Yes.
I know I'm biased, but no, she really is.
No, yes.
And no one in the world other than close family has seen it. You see what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
different subjects.
Okay, that is for the next interview.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Really, really, really grateful.
Me too.
Absolutely grateful. And I'm looking forward to the next interview.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait. Thank you, Pernilla.
Thank you.